Do you like Weller? Ever wonder which one's better? Weller Antique or Weller Foolproof? I've got both. Let's find out. The Weller Antique I have here is a store pick single barrel. This one is barrel 664, selected by Liquor Junction in Massachusetts. And your Weller Foolproof is selected by Wyman's, also in Massachusetts. Barrel 555. Let's get them open and find out which one I like better. So the main difference between Weller Antique and Weller Foolproof is the bottling proof. The Buffalo Trace team may also select different barrels if you want to do an antique pick or if you want to do a foolproof pick, knowing that they have a slightly different flavor profile as their goal. There's the Antique Pop. Antique is going to be tasted out of the Mass Bourbon Alliance Glencairn. The other difference between foolproof and antique is that the foolproof is always non-chill filtered, whereas the antique can sometimes be chill filtered. The foolproof is going in amongst the whiskey glass. All right, we got a pour of each ready to go. Let's get down to business. Let me know down in the comments, did you know what I was talking about when I said chill filtration? Oh, looks like I slightly overpoured myself on the foolproof. Does that mean I should overpour myself on the antique as well? Or should I pour some foolproof back? There's only one answer to that question. Okay, time to nose. Ooh, the antique is very light in the nose. Very approachable. It smells like fall time. Maybe that's just because I drink a lot of Weller Antique in the fall time. I have for the last 6 years. Antique is very classic Weller for me. When I think of the Weller profile, I'm really thinking about the antique profile. Maybe sometimes I'm thinking back to the nostalgic days when I would find Weller 12. It was actually back in 2018 when I tried Weller 12 that I fell in love with bourbon. It expanded my palate beyond just Irish whiskey that I was drinking at the time. Okay. Couple of notes for the nose on antique. Ooh, got this like sweet mascarpone cheese. A lot of plum, raisin. Got that classic candied cherry. It's very dusty. It's almost got a dusty oak characteristic to it on the nose. Feels well aged. Feels like a good, well-aged bourbon from Kentucky. And that is probably where Buffalo Trace shines the best. They are very consistent. They are very sweet. And there is always something to love on the nose of a glass like this. Ooh, yeah. Got a little bit of toffee, a little bit of black pepper going now. Just a kiss of cinnamon. I think the Shelfer version of Weller Antique typically has a little bit more cinnamon. This has that toned down quite a bit. And really, I get just a subtle wood spice that's not specifically cinnamon. Okay, on to the foolproof. Okay, very similar, I'm going to be honest. I'm getting a lot of the same black pepper, dusty oak, plum, cherry. You could tell me that this was the same whiskey, just at a different proof, and I would believe you. Okay, I got to jump back and forth here. It's the same whiskey. Corporate wants you to find all the differences in these glasses. They're the same glass. They smell absolutely identical. And I have been training my nose for years and years to be very good at finding nuances and differences in whiskey. And those are very, very close to each other. Twinning! Okay, time for a taste. Antique first, the lower proof. Make sure my palate doesn't get washed out. Okay, much like the nose, I find a lot to love here. It's very approachable. It's very easy to sip. I get the cherry sweetness. I get that sweet oak undulating underneath all of that. It's not overly complex, and I think Buffalo Trace in general is perhaps steering away from complex. Most of their barrels are turning out very consistent these days. Is that a signal in their distillation techniques? Or is that a macro signal where environmental conditions come into play? Are they shooting for that very consistent profile, barrel after barrel? Have they tuned their column stills to be ultra consistent, producing the same flavors, the same aromas every time? My gut says no, but I want to hear what you think down in the comments. Drop me one. Let's talk. I'll make sure to get to each and every one of you. Okay, made me want to take another sip. I just get that classic candied cherry that I know and love on Weller Antique. It's not trying to do too much here. This is very drinkable and very enjoyable. All right, seriously. The noses are almost identical. The Full Proof is maybe just a tad bit more vegetal. There's just a tinge of, vegetable oil. Maybe a touch more metallic tones underlying. It's almost like a cast iron frying pan. That is the only appreciable difference I find on the Full Proof. Time for a taste on Full Proof. Okay, here's some difference. That's definitely more powerful. The way it shimmers across the tongue, I can tell it's a bit higher in proof. It maybe has a touch more creaminess, but with that comes a little bit of ethanol on the finish. Oh, okay. Yep, same thing though. Candied cherry, plum, a little bit of fig on this one, like a Fig Newton bar. Ooh. But it finishes strong. It's not afraid to throw its proof around here. Going to clear my palate and do one more taste of the Antique. Here goes. I can tell I like the approachability of the Antique quite a bit more. The heat that comes through on the linger on the Full Proof, it's not uncomfortable, but it takes away from the experience. The Antique drinks like liquid silk. I cannot wait for it to be 0 degrees out, 3 feet of snow on the ground, and I'm stuck inside and I got nothing to do but have a pour of the old trusty Weller Antique pick. That is going to be good all winter long, if I can make this bottle last that long. Yeah, the Antique keeps me coming back for more. Really good sipper. Almost has this like creamed corn characteristic that I really like. Tastes like some bougie Mexican side dish, but with this underlying creaminess that makes it very, very, very savory and good. I think I'm hooked on the Antique here. But I will clear my palate one more time, and we will do a final taste of the Weller Full Proof. Ooh, just before I went for a sip of water, the Antique's linger had this nice little citrusy undertone. I have never found that on a Weller Antique single barrel pick. So honestly, kudos to the Liquor Junction team for picking this one. I can't say they did it alone. I had a hand in training them on how to pick good barrels. All right, last chance for Weller Full Proof to make a stand. Yeah, it's just a little bit harsh and unbalanced compared to the Antique. I wanted it to be better, but it's really not. So that settles it. Weller Antique is better than Weller Full Proof. In this specific head-to-head, these are single barrel examples. Your mileage may vary. The shelfer versions of these may be different as well. I know from tasting the shelfer version of both of these for years and years now that I do regularly prefer the Antique profile. It's a little bit more candied cherry sweet. It has the complexity of a nice cinnamon tone to it. I think overall the Antique drinks better all through the winter. The Full Proof, when it does this creamy tone, I really like that. But that has been few and far between, especially on single barrel picks. There are good single barrel picks, and there are a ton of mediocre single barrel picks of Weller Full Proof out there. Fewer Weller Antique picks. Fewer stores are doing Weller Antique picks. I have been pushing all of my local retailers in Massachusetts to select antique barrels. I think they drink better. And this tasting has only confirmed that. So you let me know down in the comments. Do you agree? Is Weller Antique better than Weller Full Proof? Look, both of these are very good. If you can find either at MSRP around $65 for both of them, go ahead and buy them. They're going to be a good sipping whiskey for you. I do think that Buffalo Trace is trying to push these towards your more everyday consumer. they're trying to maybe push away from the whiskey enthusiast who is very needy on flavor profile, tasting notes. That's me. I am the needy whiskey consumer, the whiskey connoisseur, what have you. If you blacked out during my whole tasting note spiel, then these whiskeys are probably for you. Go ahead, go buy them, keep buying them. I myself prefer a little bit more character than either of these really provide on a regular basis. So I'm going to keep hunting for really good craft distilleries, really good pot distilled whiskeys, anybody that's making high quality, well coopered, really interesting whiskey. That's what I'm hunting. These are great to share with friends and family. I'm still going to enjoy the heck out of both of these bottles. I open them for a reason. They're going to be drank. I'm going to share them with friends. I'm going to share them with family. And at the end of the day, that's what whiskey's all about. So you let me know down in the comments. Are you team antique or are you team foolproof? Wrong answers only. Until then, I am going to enjoy the rest of these glasses. You enjoy the rest of your day or night, wherever you are. And until next time, my friends, keep it amongst the whiskey.